Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a New Year episode of the Plant Powered People podcast with your hosts, Michelle Kane
and Tony Okamoto.
Today we have a really extra special guest. This is someone who's a dear friend of mine and also invaluable part of the World of Vegan team, Gina House, an individual who has 7 bazillion interests and skills and talents, and also a really inspiring story of health and wellness. And we're excited to talk to her today about that journey. She shares a whole slew of practical tips for wellness, for taking care of our bodies, our minds, loving ourselves, and really feeling good. And she shares how she totally blew away her doctor and so much more. So we're excited to get into the episode.
I'm so grateful to have Gina on the podcast. She is such a kind person, and the fact that she was willing to spend an hour of her time with us makes me so grateful. I hope you enjoy this podcast episode as much as we do. And I did want to give a bit of a trigger warning. She does share her experience with weight loss. It is a big part of her story. And if you're struggling with weight loss or how you feel about your body, just wanted to let you know in advance. But if you're feeling okay with it, please continue on. It is a really touching story, and we hope you enjoy. A warm welcome to a new sponsor of the podcast, Vistro. Vistro is perfect to bring into your lives right now because it is the new year and everyone is setting their intentions for eating healthy and eating more plants. And they make it so convenient, and especially for those who are busy. I know I'm busy, Michelle's super busy, and we have the best intentions, but sometimes our lives don't meet up exactly with those intentions. The busyness gets the best of us. But now with Vistro, we can have the best of both worlds. We can be busy, live our lives, and have this healthy plant-based food available conveniently.
Yeah, what Vistro is, it's a vegan meal delivery service where they will prepare, package up fresh, delicious plant-based meals that are free from added preservatives. They're gluten-free, non-GMO, fresh, delicious. You choose a plan on their website. They cook it, they deliver it frozen, and you can pop it in the freezer for whenever you're ready for a meal. And then you just heat it up to enjoy it. A lot of times they'll have instructions for both microwave and baking. And I have known Vistro for many, many years. I am friends with the founder who I met at the Natural Products Expo way back when. And I've tried many, many dishes that they have on their site. They have a really amazing country fried chicken, but the chicken is vegan. They have red curry with tofu. They have Thai chicken stew and enchiladas, a whole bunch of different meals that you can choose from. So you can pack your freezer and be ready to go if you are ever in a pinch or just want an easy, healthy meal with almost all of the work done for you.
And what's awesome is that you can give it a try without super hardcore commitment. They have the availability to skip or pause or cancel anytime. And then they also have a la carte options. So you can pick and choose exactly what you want and make sure that you're not getting sent something that you're not going to be eating. So check them out, vistro.com, and we'll put them on the show notes at plantpoweredpodcast.com.
Yes. And they're also a really great gift if you know anyone who's trying to eat healthy or who maybe just had a baby and needs some help or is having a really tough time in life and just could use some meals that are ready to go. You can just order it for them, have it shipped to their house. Or I know some people who have had aging parents. We talked about this in one of our podcast episodes, and they just sent them freezer meals so that they could have healthy plant-based meals to turn to when you can't be there to cook for your loved ones who are aging. So lots of great options. Check out Vistro. Thanks so much for sponsoring the show.
Hi, Gina. Welcome to the Plant Powered People podcast.
Hi, Tony. Hi, Michelle. It's great to see you guys or be with you guys.
We are excited to have you. Michelle and I have already talked you up big time in the intro, but I just love your radiant personality. You're so bright and you have a cheery disposition, and I don't even know you personally. I just see all of your kindness and thoughtfulness and just happiness being exuded all over the internet, and feel like I want to know you better all the time.
Oh, Tony, that means so much to me. You made me really happy. I try to be very positive when I can.
Well, we appreciate it. So Where are you calling from right now?
So I am in Londonderry, New Hampshire, in my husband's arcade room.
I've seen pictures. We'll try to include one in the show notes because it is quite impressive.
Oh my gosh, he would love that. He would definitely
It's
love that.
really, really something. All right. So what brought you there? Are you from, you said Londonderry?
Yeah, Londonderry.
Oh, Londonderry. Londonderry. What brought you to Londonderry?
Well, I actually was born and grew up in Rhode Island. And then when I went to college, I went to WPI in Worcester, Mass. And then that's where I met my husband. And then after that, after we graduated, he got a job in New Hampshire. So we moved up here to New Hampshire and we've been here ever since.
Very cool. And is your husband and family, are they plant-based as well?
No, actually, no one in my family is plant-based. My husband's parents, they've been vegetarian for a lot of years, probably over 20 years. But no one else, just me.
And your parents, when you were growing up, did they feed you any plant-forward meals, or was it, I know you're part Chinese, was it more cultural or was it standard American diet? What types of foods were you eating?
I think it was a combination of both ethnic meals because, like you said, my dad is Chinese. And so we had a lot of Chinese meals. And then my mom and my grandmother, who lived with us, she's Italian. So I kind of had really delicious meals on each side. So, and my parents both worked full time. And so we had to have a lot of convenience meals too, like quick things being made. But they did their absolute best to try to make as much of our meals like homemade. They just weren't very plant-based.
It's funny that you said that you had a combination, or it's interesting that you said you had a combination of foods in your home because that's how I grew up. My grandpa is full Japanese and my grandma is full Mexican. And we had the strangest things pairing together at all times. We always had homemade tortillas. We always had white rice that's steamed. Those are things we always had in our house. And my grandpa ate a lot of tofu and my grandma ate a lot of rice and beans. So I understand what you're saying when you have like a blended household.
Yes, that sounds so familiar. I mean, I just remember eating white rice with pretty much every meal. And I love it, but I can't eat it as much now. But white rice was definitely a staple. And then my grandmother made and my mom made a lot of delicious pasta meals and Italian meals. So it was kind of like one or the other.
Gina, your grandfather owned a restaurant, right?
Yes. My grandfather came over from China, and I think first it was another kind of business. I'm not sure if it was a donut shop or something, but it was some other business. And then it became a Chinese restaurant. And then he brought my grandmother over from China and my dad's older brother. And then my dad was actually born here in America. And so they had that Chinese restaurant from when my dad was like very small. And everyone in the family worked there, even my sister and I and my mom.
Well, I can attest that all of the food surrounding you and your family has implanted itself in you because as you do all of the food writing at World of Vegan and you have such an incredible sense of what goes together well. I mean, not only do you develop recipes and share veganized family recipes, but I think it's so amazing reading the articles and just thinking, I never thought of like adding that to the dish.
I know. Thank you. I think my mom and my grandma and my dad are all also very creative food wise. And so they definitely passed that down to me. So I really appreciate that.
We are here in the new year and you have a really inspiring wellness journey that we'd love to hear more about. And we think our audience will be really inspired. So can you first walk us through maybe right before you became plant-based, where you were in life, and then talk a little bit about your transition?
Okay, sure. So in my 20s, this was a way before, like I didn't become plant-based and vegan or even vegan until about, I think I was 43. So that was about 5 years ago. And before that, I was severely obese and very unhealthy and just mostly, I think, because I didn't love myself or take care of myself or put myself first in any way. And so I think a lot of where I was health-wise was really difficult because I just wasn't taking care of myself. I had really bad migraines, high blood pressure, asthma. Then my liver started to become kind of, I'm not sure, I think I started having fatty liver disease. So, and a lot of those type of illnesses run in my family. So at that point, I was just really anxious, depressed, really obese, and really ready for a change. And in the past, I had done a lot of dieting with different programs and losing some weight and then gaining it all back, and, that horrible yo-yo dieting. And I really wanted to change my life, like, completely. And my highest weight, like, I'm not even 5'1", and I was at my highest weight, 280 pounds, just to give you an idea. So in total now, I've lost actually over 150 pounds in the past couple years. Between 2019 and 2020, I actually lost 100 pounds that year, just going completely plant-based and mostly raw.
You are the healthiest eater that I know, Gina. You give me health inspiration almost every day. And I send you all these recipes to write about that are not necessarily the most health forward recipes. And you do an amazing job, but you're like, but I'm actually sitting here eating my really healthy salad with things that I grew in my garden.
Well,
how did that go? Like, just the thought of embarking on a change in the way that you're eating is difficult and hard, but also almost impossible to maintain over time. And so I'm curious just what your experience was like with food, with changing up what you ate, and with feeling better. Did you start to feel better? And did that encourage you to keep going?
Oh, yeah. So the first part, I'm able to write those articles and everything because I have had those foods before generally, or if I do make the recipes, I usually have my husband, I make it for my husband and then I taste it. So thanks to Ian, because if it wasn't for him, I really wouldn't be able to do as good of a job writing about recipes that I don't really eat very often. So he is awesome and supportive. But yeah, sometimes it's well, the whole journey has been, to me, looking back, it seems really fast, but my husband always reminds me that it actually took a long time to get to the place I am now. So, and I just want to tell everyone that I am not perfect, and I definitely have raw chocolate now and then, or not even raw, vegan chocolate sometime. And if I'm out, I'll have, for a vacation, we might stop and get a vegan ice cream. So I try my best on a daily basis to be 80% raw. And then the rest of the time, if it's a special occasion, I'll allow myself to have something, because I found that if you don't have some sort of balance in your life, it's very easy to go back and just eat whatever you want again. That's not healthy for you. And so for my health, when I started becoming plant-based, I noticed a huge, huge difference right away, because first, to transition into veganism, I ate mostly packaged foods because that's what I thought would be the easiest. And it did make it easy to transition from not being vegan to being vegan. But that did include lots of extra, trans fats and salt and chemicals from processed food. So it did help me to become vegan, but then I wasn't really healthy. And I actually gained 20 pounds when I first became vegan. But then after that, when I started to become plant-based, it was so amazing. Was also simple, a lot simpler than I thought. So instead of having to worry about expensive packaged foods and things I had to go and get, it was just oh, I can just have an apple or a piece of fruit or cut up vegetables or, a baked potato. To me, the simpler things are, the easier they are. And so going plant-based really changed how I ate and how I thought about life, and actually reduced a lot of the stress I had about being vegan. And then when I became raw, it was hard at first because you have to buy a lot of fruit frequently and vegetables frequently because they go quickly and they don't stay fresh as long. But when I ate more raw foods, I couldn't believe the changes in my body. It was incredible. My eyes became whiter, which I never thought was a thing that could happen. And I got rid of my asthma. My blood pressure went completely to normal. I almost eliminated all of my migraine headaches. I got rid of all of my allergies. And if you had known me when I was younger, I used to get allergy shots, and I used to like use an entire box of tissues like every week. And now I don't have allergies at all. I just couldn't believe the physical changes in my body, the more fresh fruit and vegetables that I ate. And like one other thing that really surprised me was that, and this is kind of weird, I only have to put on deodorant like every 3 days. And it's such a cool thing. And I always like wonder how come how come I don't smell sometimes? And it's funny, but also really fun.
Oh my gosh, Gina. My husband actually sent me an article because I don't wear deodorant and I don't smell. I don't have a smell. I don't have a smell. And it turns out that many Asian people were not born with the bacteria in their bodies that creates that body odor. And I don't know the exact science on it, but I was really fascinated when reading the article. So I will send that over to you.
That's really interesting. I mean, I feel like though before I went vegan and plant-based, when I was going from conventional deodorants to natural deodorants, I feel like I smelled a lot though. I feel like I smelled extraordinarily bad.
We all have that like stepping into the hippie lifestyle and being like the first sign that you're trying to like be healthier as a person is you're like, you switched your deodorant to the kind that doesn't have aluminum, didn't you?
And like at that time I started wearing Birkenstocks, and I'm like a girly girl type of person. And so my husband was joking with me because he was calling me a hippie because I was wearing Birkenstocks. I was becoming vegan, and it was just all this really strange stuff that's really not me. But it's all the things that I really like appreciate and wanted to change in my life. So if that makes any sense, but
that totally makes sense. I believe we all evolve over time, and it's really nice that your husband is supportive of all of the changes that you're making in your life and will even be a taste tester to your vegan food.
He really loves when I have to make a recipe for work or from your cookbook, Tony, or the Friendly Vegan Cookbook. He is so happy to try any and all things out because he loves food. So
he's also made some guest appearances in some videos, and I always appreciate his shirts. He has a really fun sense of style.
Oh my goodness. I have he has 3 to 4 drawers full of those t-shirts, and I do the Marie Kondo folding for him. So they're actually really beautiful, like his drawers.
That is awesome. That needs to be its own YouTube undrawing.
Oh my gosh.
Gina, you mentioned that you had some pretty significant health changes. Your eyes are whiter. You smell better. The world is brighter around you. Can you tell us a little bit about how long that took? I know people right now are trying Veganuary. They are just trying to be a little bit more intentional about what they're putting in their bodies. And I am wondering if you could share exactly what that process was like for you and how long it took to start seeing change.
Yeah. So I would say that the year that I started becoming plant-based, that made a lot of health changes in my body, like the lowering of the blood pressure and like all of those things, and actually eliminating oil and reducing my fat intake to 10%. Also, I got rid of all the cystic acne that I'd had for, oh my gosh, since I was 12 years old. So it completely got rid of that without any facial creams or doing anything different, just eating better food and a lot less fat. So that took about a year or so. But then it only took, when I went completely raw, I would say it only took 3 months to see a huge difference. And that's when I saw the difference in my eyes and my skin, and so many really small things that I wish I could remember now, but just eating completely raw fruits and vegetables for 3 full months. I mean, that to me has been a little bit difficult to sustain because I live in such a cold climate. So I try to do my best to eat completely raw or as much raw as I can. But unless you live in a tropical climate, I think it's really hard to be completely 100% raw, or at least for me anyway. But I think that once I upped my raw foods to 80%, that's when I started seeing the huge differences, like physically, as well as like, I would say emotionally too. And that only took like 3 months.
When you say emotionally, what do you mean?
I still struggle sometimes with anxiety. And so when I'm eating mostly raw, I would say my anxiety levels definitely decrease. I definitely do a lot of exercising and fun activity, but sometimes that doesn't, for some reason, doesn't always help me with my anxiety. But I feel like foods that I eat seem to affect me more, especially I've eliminated caffeine from my diet and I've eliminated salt and sugar. I think that those things really helped my anxiety a lot more than some of the other things I was trying to do because I'd been meditating in the morning and exercising. And for some reason, the food plus those things seemed to help a lot more with my anxious feelings.
When you started down this path, did you seek assistance from your doctor or did you read books or how did you get the information that led you to where you are?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, I love reading books. And so I think one of the first books that I read, I think it was one of Dr. Neil Barnard's books. And I just loved his practical but easygoing, kind of caring tone of voice in his books. And then that kind of spurred me to watch YouTube videos. And I'm not joking when I say that World of Vegan was kept me vegan for those first like 2 or 3 years where I had no one around me who was vegan, no friends that were vegan. And so Michelle, your channel is what kept me going, not only through like seeing you and how you and Tony were so encouraging and supportive and fun and just making me feel like not guilty if I made a mistake or just encouraged me to keep going. So watching World of Vegan was like the biggest part of my journey. And then from your channel, I watched documentaries, especially like I started with, I think, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. And then I watched Forks Over Knives and Cowspiracy and Vegucated. And like all of those were so inspiring to me. So between the YouTube channel and reading books, and then I also read like later on Dr. Greger's books and the China Study and Dr. McDougall's books, between reading books and YouTube and World of Vegan. That's how I that's how I stayed vegan, but I didn't really have my doctor's support. I only told her afterwards, and she was extremely happy and also supportive and also really surprised and asked me a lot of questions when I went for my checkup.
Well, first of all, thank you for saying all those nice things, Gina. It really I'm nearly in tears over here because that was the whole impetus of me starting work online was to be a resource and a friend for people who felt alone and who didn't have a network of people around them. So it's not often that you actually hear from people like that people are watching on the other end and that it had an impact, but that just warms my heart so much. And I'm so glad that you reached out and we were able to connect. And now here we are working together every day.
I know.
So cool.
It's like a dream come true. And it's not an exaggeration when I say that you and World of Vegan and Tony were like my support group. Even though you guys didn't know me, like I felt like I'd known you for 3 full years, watching your videos every week and reading the blog posts and just feeling like I knew I had at least 2 friends who didn't know me, but who were there for me if I needed it. And like I can't thank you enough for starting all of that because I don't think I would be where I am right now without your channel and the 2 of you and my husband and my family support.
Thank you, Gina. That's so kind. We didn't talk about this yet, but the reason we know Gina is because when Michelle, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when Michelle was pregnant with Graham, Gina reached out to Michelle and knitted him a gift. That is the kindest, sweetest, thoughtful thing anyone could do. She said, I've been so touched by your channel. I know you're having a baby. I would like to knit you with my own two hands an outfit for your baby. And from there, she started collaborating with Michelle more and now works doing a lot of content creation for World of Vegan, which is incredible. And if you go to World of Vegan's YouTube channel, you'll see really great videos that she's done. And if you go to worldofvegan.com, she writes articles and shares recipes there as well.
And even a knitting guide. You went from knitting something for Graham, which you made sure to highlight, like, I even used vegan yarn, which a lot of people don't even know what that is. And now there's a knitting guide that I know a lot of people write in often saying how helpful it is. So yeah, amazing. I'm so glad we all connected, Gina.
I know. It's like working with you guys is like a dream come true. I feel like this is some kind of like TV show that I'm on. So I'm like, how can this be real?
And also so cool that you got to go back to your doctor. Like, I'm sorry that you didn't have the support of that from the beginning, or I guess it's just you felt empowered to navigate it on your own, which is really cool. That's just the person that you are. Also, for those listening, Gina, you have literally every side hobby imaginable. Like, I feel like, wait, can you just list some of them?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I started off teaching yoga because yoga was a hobby. And then I loved hula hooping. So I became a certified hula hoop instructor. And I also do watercolor painting. I knit. I'm also a knitwear designer. I now am doing stickers. I used to do cross stitch. Like, I'm just a very curious person that likes creating, I guess.
And what's your degree in?
Mathematics.
I just think you're such a fascinating human being. And just, yeah, truly, every time I'm like, this specific thing, Gina's like, oh yeah, I've done that in my life. It's so cool. But anyway, that you were able to go back to your doctor and be this example of what changing the food that you eat and becoming more active or anything else that you did. And the after the fact is so cool. I'd love to hear more about your doctor's reaction and if you've stayed in touch over time or if they've expressed any curiosity in being able to share that with other patients of theirs.
Oh yeah. Just to say, like, the doctor that I have she's very, very nice. And it's not like I didn't think that she would argue with me or be or not be encouraging about going on a plant-based diet. I just really wanted to try it out on my own and just see how I liked it and how it would work with my life. So I decided to just do it on my own and then go back to the doctor. And she was so amazed because, you know, when I'd go in and I couldn't breathe or my blood pressure was really high, she really did her best to not just always give me medication, but she did really try to be encouraging, like, with me as a person and try to figure out, you know, what would help. But she was like blown away. She couldn't believe how much weight I had lost. And she asked me a lot of questions about what I did differently, what kind of foods I was eating, what kind of exercise I was doing with it. I told her about World of Vegan website. And I also told her about some of the books that I had read that really helped me, especially like the China study, which is a very scientific based book. So it's not just here's some recipes to try. So I hope that she maybe shared that with other patients or maybe suggested that sort of change to other patients who are having similar health issues as I was.
That's really cool that you were able to show that example.
So you have incorporated all of these healthy lifestyle changes, and you mentioned that your family hasn't decided to join this journey with you, but your husband is supportive. What about the rest of your family? I know that we hear from people all the time whose children may not be on board or who live in a community that is smaller and doesn't have people who are aware of the lifestyle or even accommodating of the lifestyle. So how did it go? Like, what were the more practical application parts like in your life?
Yeah. Well, I would say that even though my family, my immediate family, my two kids and my husband, that they're not vegan, I would say that they're a lot healthier. My youngest son, he just lost 60 pounds himself. And though he's not vegan or vegetarian, he reduced his dairy and meat by, I'd say, more than half. And I think that really helped him to lose weight. And my daughter as well, she lost a lot of weight also I think she's taken out all dairy and gotten rid of her allergies from that, and also reduced her meat consumption. And so I think that even though my family has not become vegan and they don't like want that label or anything, or they don't want to be plant-based, I think that seeing what I'm eating and seeing how healthy and good I've been feeling, I think it's changed their diets too and how they look at food. So that's a really positive part of that journey for me. And my extended family, they still all do eat kind of the standard American diet, though I think my mom and dad are now becoming a little bit more interested in plant-based. And I've sent them both of your cookbooks, and they're definitely willing to try new recipes. And when I come down, they've always been really supportive about either me bringing my own food, or my mom will have a huge salad ready for me, or potatoes, or my dad will make me like a Chinese stir fry without any meat in it. So I think they are definitely really supportive, especially since they've seen how happy I am and how much healthier I am. So maybe eventually I'll get everybody on board. I'm not giving up.
That's so wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that you're having this experience and that your family is accommodating and supportive. And for anyone who is just stepping into the new year feeling like, oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I do? Can you share some really positive advice, things that I know that consuming media really helped you, but what are the really practical things that they can apply to their lives today?
Okay, so I do have definite practical tips. And so do you want me to give you tips for weight loss or for veganism, or both?
Just what tips you applied to your life to just take
Feel
on
better.
wellness in general. Like we're focused on wellness here. We want people to feel good. And I like that you feel not only good physically, but emotionally as well. So anything that you can provide to our audience so that they can feel better in 2022 would be awesome.
All right, so I think that my first advice would be for anyone is to practice loving yourself more. And I thought it was like so kooky to give yourself a hug, but like, during the pandemic, like that's sometimes what I have to do to give myself a hug. But really be patient and good to yourself, and do something nice for yourself every day. That was the biggest thing that started off everything, is to just, it's hard to be motivated to get your health better when you don't feel good about yourself or you don't like yourself. So liking yourself and loving yourself is, to me, like the first most important thing. And so doing one thing that makes you happy or brings you joy every day, even if it's only for like 5 or 10 minutes, that is my first thing. Then I would say drinking a lot of water. And it really helps to drink some water like before meals. If you're an emotional eater like me, if you drink a couple of glasses of water, like an hour or so or whatever before you eat, it really helps to cut down on emotional eating, and helps to keep you hydrated. So I found that to be really helpful for me. And then also planning. If like I try to be a very organized person, or I think I'm organized like by nature. And so planning my meals, at least even a day before, if like 5 days ahead is just too much for you, just plan on what you're going to eat the next day. That really helped me a lot. Even just making a rough outline of what I'd want in my salad, or what kind of fruit or fruit smoothie I wanted to make, that really helped me a lot. And then I would say add instead of thinking about what you can't have. Because when you think about adding more, it's a more positive feeling. And so make a list of all of your favorite like plant and like fruits and vegetables and plant foods that you love, and just decide that you're going to add those into the diet that you already have. So even if you can't give up like cheese or milk or chicken or something, just try to add 2 to 3 servings extra of fruits or vegetables a day. And that's going to, if you eat those first, it's going to really help you to cut down on the things that are less healthy for you. And I think that's a nice positive way to think about it, instead of, oh, I can't eat this anymore and I can't eat that anymore. And then another thing that really helped me was watching documentaries. Watching on World of Vegan, we have a whole list of documentaries that you can watch. And I think watching that, like one a month or one a week or as often as you want, really helped me to get a better idea of not only how I wanted to start eating or what I wanted to release from my life. It just helped to keep me motivated. And then another thing that helped was to go really simple, because I feel like sometimes I'm overwhelmed by all new recipes and, oh no, I don't have that ingredient or I don't have the time to make that. I say go as simple as possible. Like for a meal, just have, if you're just starting to become vegan or plant-based, just have like a bowl of vegan-friendly cereal or oatmeal or overnight oats with some fruit and plant milk, or just have some cut up vegetables and some hummus, or rice and beans, or a stir fry and a potato or rice. Just the simpler that you can make your food during the day, the easier it is and the less stress you put on yourself. The other thing that really helped was just to take some time before I start eating to just close my eyes and take some deep breaths. I mean, sometimes we're in such a rush to eat that you just kind of gobble things down or eat things while you're watching or reading something, and then you're not really paying attention that you're eating. And when I do pay attention, I not only feel like my digestion is much better, but that I get fuller quicker. And that really helped me to stop the cycle of overeating by really being mindful of what I was putting in my mouth at the time and just going slow.
These are such great recommendations and practices that I want to start implementing in my own life. Each one of these things that you said, I was like checking off in my head. Nope, not drinking enough water. Oops, literally just ate 5 things in the fridge. I couldn't even tell you what they are because I wasn't paying attention. And even planning your meals more. That's something that I neglect doing often. And it leads me to just not having a healthful meal. And that relays to my family and my kid as well. So like all of these things I think are such great practices. And I do think they are called practices because it is not easy to integrate, and probably not something that you could say, okay, I'm going to starting tomorrow do all of these things, because it is a lot. So how did that kind of over time work its way into regular practice in your life?
Yeah, Michelle, that is so true, because sometimes it's overwhelming to have this whole list of things that you really want to do or you're motivated to do, but you're like, I can't, how can I possibly do all of this stuff and make all of these changes at once? It's too overwhelming. So I just tried to implement one, like I made a list of 10 things, and then I tried to do one new, like I added one thing to my routine per week. Or if I felt like I wasn't quite there yet, I'd give it 2 or 3 weeks. Like like totally personal and up to you. But when I first started drinking like water as soon as I got up in the morning, and it was almost like I never drank coffee, but I did drink tea to try to wake up. But drinking like water in the morning does to me the same thing. And so that took, a week or so to get used to doing that. And then just small things like that, where I eliminated oil from my diet, which helped my skin so much. That took a long time too. But I think if you have a list and you give yourself like maybe 6 months or a whole year to incorporate all of these little practices, you can just start slowly and do them like 1 or 2 weeks at a time. And every time you accomplish something, it's just like another star. Like I literally will give myself a star, or my husband will give me like a little golden star for like every time that like I feel like I've accomplished something, and I'm really proud of it, and it really keeps me going. So like you shouldn't feel like you have to be perfect right from the very start, because that'll be really overwhelming and upsetting if you can't keep that sort of level of enthusiasm and motivation up. But I think if you go slow with yourself and you really give yourself enough time, that you'll very slowly get the exact practice that you want for your daily life, and your health will just like improve like all of a sudden, and you'll be like, what did I do? And it's all the things you've just done in the past that have added up to that day that you realize.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And it really is all about habits, and habits are something that build and change and evolve over time. And we can let ourselves fall into habits that may not be beneficial for us, or we can actively try and practice and build habits that are beneficial for us. I know a couple years, I didn't do this last year, but maybe I'll start doing it again. I started doing this habit tracker system. I use
Oh,
pen and
yeah.
paper for my to-do list. So at each week at the bottom, I draw out this little habit tracker chart, which had 7 little slots for each day. And then each column was like, drink water, read for 10 minutes, go on a walk outside, or literally go outside because I'm such a hermit. They were little,
Me too.
things, and that none of them were too overwhelming. And I never held myself to, I don't think, maybe there were a couple days where literally everything got checked off, but I didn't hold myself to that. But I would be able to see as a visual reminder every time I looked at my to-do list, which was multiple times a day, that those were there. And if I had 5 minutes here or there, I could go and check them off. And it was so helpful to build those habits. I did find them building and falling off, building and falling off, building and falling off, the same way that like, I'm sure anyone who's ever worked out, no one has ever worked out consistently their whole life. It just doesn't go like that. Same thing for eating healthy, same thing for anything. Like there's just going to be periods where it feels like it's flowing and periods where it feels like it's a struggle. But I think the habit tracker can be really helpful. And there's also a lot of books on habit, like Atomic Habits. It's just becoming really popular now, all these different books on building habits. And I read some of them and I found it really fascinating. Things like something about brushing your teeth and how the reason that they have you brush your teeth twice a day is because if you don't, you're not going to do it at all or something like that.
It's kind of like, yeah, I there's a technique called habit bundling, which I have definitely used, where I pair something I think is not healthy with something that is healthy or something that I'm already doing. And that 100% helps. Like I try not to watch too much videos or movies or whatever so that I can stay away from the computer more. But I would save my favorite YouTube videos and watch those while I was running or exercising or doing something else, so that you're getting a habit in, or you're doing something to help motivate yourself with something you're already doing. Or if like when you're brushing your teeth, you can take some deep breaths either before or after. And that's a way to get in a little bit of like slow breathing or like meditation. You just bring one thing in with something else that's already going on. And I think that's really helpful.
I actually read Atomic Habits recently per the suggestion of another guest on our podcast this season, Whitney Lawrence, and she recommended Atomic Habits in our mastermind group. And it was really helpful to know that habits don't have to be these huge things that are, I'm going to go to the gym for 1 hour every day, 5 days a week. Instead, it can be for 1 minute a day, I'm going to do push-ups at my house while I'm listening to a podcast. It can be these small victories that lead to something greater over time. And I feel like that's how my journey with plant-based has been as well. I didn't become vegan overnight. It was something that was really gradual for me. And through lots of small victories, I continued to build upon it and feel really comfortable with my lifestyle change that was gradual.
Also is like sequence is a helpful tool with habits, which I never thought of before, but not only like bundling two habits together, but building a sequence. I know there was this app, I can't remember what it was called, but the cell phone app that I downloaded at one point, which was a habit builder. And it would loop at a certain time every morning to help you build sort of a morning routine. And it would pop up the thing that you do. Maybe it's drink a glass of, or pour yourself a glass of water. And then it's, read for 5 minutes. You set the habits, but it has you do them in the same sequence every morning. And then you get to click them off or give yourself a star, give yourself a little jingle when it's done. So you get that little dose of dopamine or reward. Even just like wash the dishes in the sink. Like if you put it in a sequence so that your body and your mind gets used to that pathway, it can make it feel so much easier over time.
I love that idea. I mean, and I'm all for giving yourself like a little reward for the smallest things, because sometimes those smallest things really add up to something big. I mean, not only for your health, but also for your emotional health too, for your physical and emotional health. And I think small things always add up. So I think giving yourself a star or a little present or something like that is really worthwhile.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Well, we are nearing the end of our recording session for today, and I'm hoping that you will feel comfortable giving some people some powerful words of advice to start their new year.
All right. I should have written this down. I would just say I'm a huge proponent for giving yourself a break and just being good to yourself and loving yourself, because I feel like a lot of people who have health troubles or like in any way, or who are trying to transition from eating meat, like eating a standard American diet, to trying to eat healthier, a lot of times it's because you're just not liking yourself and you just can't get the motivation to really care about your health or what you're doing. And I think if you start doing things for yourself that make you happy and saying nice things to yourself and treating yourself like you would treat like your child or your best friend, someone you love so much, and then using that as a motivation to really do something to change your health for the better, and just starting with really small steps like more water, more fruits and vegetables, going outside for just a few minutes every day to take a really quick walk. You'll find that just really small things like that will add up to more motivation to make bigger changes in your life that are for the positive. And I think it really starts with how you feel about yourself. And that's how it's helped me. I had to start there, because starting with just changing my diet sometimes doesn't help. But for me, going vegan was, I wanted to reduce, or do my part to try not to have animal suffering in the world, because the thought of that just kills my heart. And so I use that as my motivation, and also, wanting to change my health for the better and be nicer to myself. And those things together really help to keep me going. So I just think, just be good to yourself, love yourself, take it slow. And from then on, you'll really get more motivation to keep going and changing your life for the better. Just be patient.
That is so beautiful. And Gina, it really breaks my heart every time I hear someone who doesn't love themselves, because it is just, I love them, like I just, oftentimes you'll look at something, you'll be like, how? But you're such an incredible, beautiful person. If you could tell yourself when you were feeling that way, like now, if you could say some words to yourself and really be heard, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself, it's okay that even if you regret choices you've made in the past that you regret, or things that you missed out on and didn't do and wish you did, and you don't, like at that point, I didn't really like myself. I would say to myself, you are a worthy and wonderful person who's really trying your best, and don't give up. And, I love you, self. I wish I could tell my younger self that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and for helping us inspire people in the new year. I'm really grateful. Again, I think that you're just such a kind person, and more of you out in the world is better for everyone. If anyone's interested in finding more about what you write, what you eat, where can they find you?
I'm at Instagram at Gina House. And also I have a website, ginahouse.net, but I'm mostly on Instagram or Facebook. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gina, and hope you have a good new year.
thank you so much, Tony and Michelle, for having me on the podcast. It's meant so much to me. And I really hope that some of the things that I've said will motivate, or at least make people think about starting their health journey this year and being better to themselves, both physically and emotionally, because I think everybody really deserves to be loved and to love themselves. And give yourself a chance with the plant-based diet. It's really, truly life-changing.
All right. And next up, we have, you know them by now. You hopefully love them by now. Better Than Bouillon, a bouillon, condensed, spreadable soup base, but that can also be used in all sorts of different kitchen applications or cooking applications. This is an essential as we step into the new year to keep your super healthy food super tasty and to keep you wanting to keep going on with eating lots of veggies.
And you already know we're all about meal planning right now. We're in the meal plan challenge, and the plant-based meal plan is what we're all about. And we have a ton of soups in there. And what we love about incorporating more soups is that you can pack them hardcore with veggies and grains and lentils and split peas and all of the good whole food plant-based ingredients and flavor them simply with adding some bouillon. Better Than Bouillon is the best option. It packs it with flavor and makes it really, really, really simple to have some complexity to your simple soup.
Yeah. Again, you can look out for flavors, like the different flavors that they have for their bouillon that are vegan. They have a seasoned vegetable, roasted garlic, sauteed onion, organic seasoned vegetable, mushroom, no beef, and no chicken, which is one of our favorites. It is easily available at most stores, and you know how much we love them. Tony and I have both been using Better Than Bouillon. I remember when I first discovered them, it was maybe a decade ago, and a recipe that I was making called for bouillon. I had never used any bouillon before, and so we got Better Than Bouillon at the store, and it was actually life-changing for me. I fell in love with soups. I fell in love with the ease of being able to cook healthy meals loaded with veggies. It was just, ever since then, has been in my pantry. So thank you so much, Better Than Bouillon. And for all those listening, if you want to check them out and you haven't found them in stores, be sure to visit their website at betterthanbouillon.com.
I've said it a bunch throughout this episode. Gina is such a nice person with such a good heart. And I feel like it especially comes out when she's sharing her tips and talking about her family. And I feel like not only does she give herself a big hug, but she also gives me a big hug.
I know. Gina's one of my favorite people to talk to for that reason. I just feel calmed and loved. And Gina has also told me many times how she's interested in mentoring people. So I really do encourage you to reach out to her through Instagram, or you can reach out to her through her World of Vegan email. Contact us at World of Vegan and just say this message is for Gina, and we can totally pass it on. And I know she just really wants to be supportive and pay it forward and helping other people along their plant-powered journeys. So big thank you, Gina. And I know she shared a lot in this episode, and she's going to be sharing even more resources to support, resources that were helpful to her and still are helpful to her as she rocks through her plant-based life. So we'll be including all of that in the show notes at plantpoweredpodcast.com, where you can also find all of our past episodes. We've got a lot now. And I know most of you are probably already subscribed on Apple Podcasts, but you might not know we also have a podcast email list where Tony and I do so much beyond just our podcast episodes. And we share emails now and then with updates about all of our things that we do in other arenas. So if you're interested, you can head to plantpoweredpodcast.com and just drop your email there. And we can't wait to talk to you in your email. Plus, you'll get fun little emails about the latest episodes and our featured guests and other resources that we have for you.
And of course, if you want to support us on Patreon, that is always welcomed and appreciated. That is at patreon.com/plantpoweredpeople. And thank you so much again for listening. Happy New Year to you and your loved ones. And we will talk to you in the next one.
Bye.
Thanks again to our sponsors, Bistro and Better Than Bouillon. They are both essential in making a very, very easy veganuary happen in your life. Bistro, again, has frozen meals that are made with healthful ingredients and delivered to your doorstep. And Better Than Bouillon, of course, is going to make meal prep a cinch. Definitely check them out, bistro.com and betterthanbouillon.com. We will include those in the show notes.